A 5-year-old boy stands in front of a mirror, his eyes sharp, his stance focused. He throws a punch, then another, in rhythm, in flow, like a dance. He's not fighting an enemy, he's searching for something. Control, balance, truth. His story begins with the search. A search that would one day light the fire of a legend. That boy was Bruce Lee. Welcome to Soulful Stories, where we journey through the lives of remarkable minds who shaped our world. Through their struggles, triumphs, and powerful ideas, we discover lessons that can awaken our own genius and inspire us to see the world and ourselves a little differently. Today we dive into the story of Bruce Lee, the Kung Fu legend, who wasn't just fast, he was focused. He trained like no one else, did push-ups on 2 fingers, and caught rice with chopsticks midair. But his real power was in his mind. Let's together learn more about the life of Bruce Lee, a legend who flowed through every obstacle like water. Bruce Lee was born in the year of dragon, during the hour of dragon, a rare moment in Chinese astrology, symbolizing strength, courage, and destiny. In Chinese tradition, dragon represents not just power and wisdom, but the ability to move between worlds, heaven and earth, east and west. This baby, named Li Junfan, but later known as Bruce Lee, was born while his father, a famous Cantonese opera singer named Li Hui Chuen, was on tour in America. Bruce appeared in his first film when he was just a baby. At only 3 months old, he played a baby girl in a movie called Golden Gate Girl. By the time he was 18, he had already appeared in 20 movies. Bruce's family returned to Hong Kong when he was just 3 months old. But the heat and humidity of Hong Kong did not suit baby Bruce. In fact, his mother feared she might lose him, just as she had lost another child before him. He was sickly, and one account says he was so weak at age 4 he could barely walk. The same boy once seen as fragile would grow up to be a kung fu master. As Bruce grew older, Hong Kong's crowded streets became his classroom. He wasn't always the martial arts master we remember today. He was once just a boy, quick to anger, quick to fight. By age 13, Bruce was getting into street fights almost daily. His parents worried deeply about their son's future. At one point, Bruce's father took him to learn Wing Chun Kung Fu from a legendary master, Jip Man. Jip Man was a former police officer who opened his own martial arts school. What made him special? He didn't just teach punches and kicks, he taught the philosophy behind the movement, the mind behind the fist. But Bruce faced many challenges even there. In those days, many traditional kung fu schools only taught Chinese students. Grace Ho, Bruce Lee's mother, was of Eurasian descent. Her father, Ho Kom Tong, was part Chinese and part British. William, his best friend, managed to persuade Jip Man to take Bruce Lee as his student. Once accepted, every single day, Bruce practiced hard. His brother used to call him a fanatic because once Bruce got into something, he became obsessed with mastering it. Bruce later said, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." But not everyone admired his quick rise. After school, Bruce and his best friend William would wander the neighborhood looking for adventure and sometimes trouble. They had a reputation for being the toughest baddies on the street. One day, after being teased by classmates, Bruce challenged an assistant instructor from a rival school to a friendly duel. It lasted 2 rounds. Bruce walked away with a black eye, but the instructor walked away with missing teeth. As Bruce's skills grew, he began teaching martial arts to younger students in the playground of his college. Word quickly spread. One day, Brother Edward, school's athletic director, a former professional boxer and German missionary, noticed Bruce's raw talent. He introduced Bruce to the world of Western boxing. For months, Bruce trained relentlessly, studying footwork, timing, speed, and in 1958, he entered Hong Kong's official boxing tournament. He knocked out the champion and won the whole thing. But Bruce didn't love the rules of formal competitions. He felt they limited the real spirit of martial arts, the freedom, the expression, the adaptability. That's why that tournament was the first and the last official match he ever entered. Instead, he kept fighting on the rooftops and alleys of Hong Kong in secret challenges, street battles, and real confrontations. He even once clashed with members of the Triads, a feared crime gang at the time. After that, his parents feared for his safety. So at just 18 years old, his parents sent him away back to America in 1959 with a one-way ticket, a suitcase, and a dream. What the world didn't know yet was that Bruce Lee was about to change everything. How did he survive in America? He worked as a dishwasher, lived above a restaurant where he worked. During the day, he finished high school and then enrolled at the University of Washington. Here's something that might surprise you. Bruce Lee was a philosophy major in college. He loved ideas from both East and West, studying ancient Chinese wisdom like Taoism along with Western philosophers. In Seattle, Bruce began teaching Kung Fu to support himself. His first school was simply parks and backyards. He did not even promote it. He hoped that his reputation would be high enough that word of mouth would do what was necessary to promote it. He wanted to teach those who had a great desire to learn the techniques and would also be ready to accept the philosophical ideas. The key idea in his teaching was the philosophy of water. What happened, Bruce, after doing his meditation, went for a swim. In his own words, he says, I thought of all my past training and got mad at myself and punched the water. He said, right then and at that moment, a thought suddenly struck me. Was not this water the very essence of Kung Fu? Hasn't this water just now illustrated to me the principle of Kung Fu? I struck it, but it did not suffer hurt. Bruce Lee realized that water, although the softest substance, seemingly weak, could penetrate the hardest substance. And he wanted to be like water.
What does be like water mean?
What does that mean? In martial arts, what's of value is movement, timing, and flow. Any stiffness is weakness. The masters encouraged people to remain flexible, open minded, and ready to adjust and adapt to changing circumstances during combat. With water, he learned how not to resist, to be flexible. If life pushes you, flow. If life blocks you, find a way through. Let's hear this from Bruce Lee in his own words.
Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. Put it into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or creep or drip or crash. Be water, my friend.
When I first heard Bruce Lee say, be like water, I didn't get it. But then I realized it was about flow and adaptability. And that made me think about my own life. Sometimes I tend to control everything, and that makes me stiff and rigid, not just in the mind, but in the body. So I like the idea of staying strong in flow and ease and acceptance without always fighting back in resistance. So I'm trying to incorporate this aspect of being like water in my life. Coming back to Bruce. As Bruce taught martial arts, he began to question everything he had learned. He began to question, why does Kung Fu limit us to one style with so many rules, leaving no room to express yourself? These questions led Bruce to create something revolutionary, a new approach to martial arts. He combined ancient wisdom with martial arts, creating his own style called Jeet Kune Do, which means the way of the intercepting fist. To Bruce, martial arts wasn't about hurting someone anymore, it was learning who you are. His first students were basically anyone willing to learn, and one of those students was a young woman named Linda Emery. In 1964, Bruce was challenged to fight by a Chinese martial arts master who didn't like that Bruce was teaching non Chinese students. The fight lasted just 3 minutes. Bruce won decisively, but he wasn't happy with his performance. He felt that he had used too much energy. This motivated him to further develop his techniques, making them more efficient and effective. While teaching and developing Jeet Kune Do, Bruce fell in love with Linda Emery, one of his first students. They married and soon welcomed 2 children, Brandon and Shannon. Bruce opened more martial arts school and began teaching Hollywood actors like Steve McQueen, James Coburn, basketball legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. These famous students saw something special in Bruce, not just skill, but wisdom beyond his years. Bruce's dream was to show the world the true beauty and depth of Chinese martial arts through movies. But Hollywood wasn't ready for an Asian leading man. When Bruce created the idea for a TV show about a Chinese martial artist in America, Bollywood producers loved it. But they cast a non Asian actor in the lead role of Kung Fu. But instead of getting disappointed, he further deepened his resolve to find a way to express himself. Bruce wasn't just lightning fast with his fists. He was also really good with his feet. He had been a dancing champion in Hong Kong. Bruce believed that dancing helped him become a better martial artist. The timing of the footwork, the grace, all of that translated into his fighting style. He once said, "To me, martial arts means expressing yourself honestly, not lying to yourself. To express oneself honestly, now that my friend is very hard to do." And he found that same truth in dance, in the rhythm, in the body, in the movement. Then came a turning point in his life. Around 1970, Bruce injured his back while lifting weights. He didn't warm up properly, which was unusual for him, and the strain caused a serious injury to the fourth sacral nerve in his lower back. Doctors told him he might never practice martial arts again. But here's where the story becomes legendary. While he was recovering, he didn't give up. He lay in bed for months, reading philosophy, writing, and developing what would later become his martial arts philosophy. While healing, he read over 2,000 books. He studied recovery techniques and came back even stronger. Even when Bruce couldn't move his body, he moved his mind. Do you want to hear how he recovered from that injury? He did 4 things. Visualization. Bruce was very much into mental discipline. He used visualization methods imagining his body healing, his muscle movements, and the martial arts forms that he would do once he's fully recovered. That really helped his recovery. Meditation and breathing exercises. He practiced deep breathing and meditation to relax his body and mind, which enhanced his healing. Philosophical study and writing. During his recovery, he read and wrote extensively, developing his martial arts philosophy. This mental engagement kept his spirit strong. Last but not the least, Bruce was also known to respect and sometimes use traditional healing methods like Chinese medicine and alternative practices like acupuncture. And guess what? He defied the doctors, trained smart, and made a full recovery, coming back even stronger. This event is often seen as one of the great turning points in his life, where mental strength, not physical, carried him through. It was a turning point that forced him to go inward, sharpen his mind, and emerge stronger, wiser, and more focused. Bruce had tried to find his way into Hollywood. However, he only received rejections because of his Asian heritage. Disappointed with Hollywood and with the clarity and strength he got from overcoming this injury, he made a bold decision. He decided to go back to Hong Kong with his family, and there something magical happened that changed the history of martial arts cinema forever. In Hong Kong, Bruce starred in a film called The Big Boss. When it premiered in 1971, something unprecedented happened. The audience went wild. They had never seen martial arts displayed with such speed, grace, and emotional power. Bruce became an overnight sensation in Asia. More films followed: Fist of Fury, Way of the Dragon, where Bruce famously fought Chuck Norris in the Roman Colosseum. Did you know that fight scenes in movies before Bruce Lee would typically use 15 to 20 camera shots to make actors look fast? But Bruce Lee moved so quickly that filmmakers had to ask him to slow down and sometimes film at a different film rate so audience could actually see his movements. Finally, Hollywood came calling. Bruce was cast in Enter the Dragon, the first martial arts film produced by a major Hollywood studio. Bruce didn't just act in films, he choreographed the fights, directed the scenes, wrote the dialogues, infused everything with his philosophy. His films were not just about fighting, they were about standing up for the oppressed, maintaining dignity, and finding inner strength. One of his famous words are, "As long as I can remember, I feel I have had this great creative and spiritual force within me that is greater than faith, greater than ambition, greater than confidence, greater than determination, greater than vision. It is all these combined. My brain becomes magnetized with this dominating force which I hold in my hand."
What did Bruce Lee do for fun?
Yes, my friend, Bruce Lee had lots of fun. Let's take a little break and talk about how hilarious Bruce Lee was. As you may have noticed, he makes these really funny kung fu noises everywhere. You want to hear one? Here we go. While eating food, Bruce would toss tiny grains of rice into the air and snatch them midair using chopsticks again and again. It wasn't just for fun. Bruce believed if you can control small things with great speed, you can master anything. Bruce challenged people to arm wrestling with only 2 fingers, and he won. One time, Bruce kicked a man during training, and the guy flew across the room right into a chair and the chair broke. Bruce was surprised himself. He didn't really know his own power. And you know his favorite food? was beef in oyster sauce. Not super spicy, not fancy, just plain nutritious. Another secret a lot of people don't know is that Bruce had one leg that was almost an inch shorter than the other. Instead of seeing this as a weakness, Bruce turned it into strength, developing his famous sidekick that gave him extra reach and power from his dominant side. One of his most famous tricks was the 1 inch punch. All the audience could see was the faint movement of Bruce's body forward while the heel of his left toe rose. Bruce made such a powerful blow by rotating his hips that the person who received the punch flew several meters, shocking the audience who shouted in enthusiasm every time he did that. And Bruce could do 1,500 push ups in a single sitting. He could do 400 push ups using just one hand, 200 using just 2 fingers, and even 100 push ups using only one thumb. Bruce didn't just train hard, he trained with superhuman focus. He believed that the body is capable of anything if the mind believes it first. Every rep wasn't just an exercise, it was discipline, it was mastery, it was Bruce becoming Bruce. Bruce's hand could travel from rest to full punch in 500 milliseconds. He once punched a man 5 times and kicked him once in less than 1 second during a demo. That's not movie magic, that's Bruce's magic. To him, limits were just a suggestion.
How did Bruce Lee get so strong?
Your greatest power doesn't lie in your muscles. It lies in your mind. Every morning when you wake, you face a choice. Remain ordinary or unleash the warrior within. Let your determination become your superpower, your discipline, your weapon. Train with such intensity that your passion becomes contagious. Fight with such spirit that your resolve becomes legendary. For greatness isn't given. It's seized by those willing to push past pain, past doubt, past their own limitations. So push harder, dig deeper. Let each breath fuel your fire. Each challenge amplify your strength. For legends aren't born, they're forged through unwavering dedication. Now forge yours. Rise up, break through, become unstoppable.
Want to know what Bruce Lee's daily practice looked like? He woke up early, and after a short meditation, he would go for what he called shadow boxing while jogging, which basically means that he's running through the park and suddenly he would throw a fast jab, duck to the side, punch again, block, even though there's nobody there, but he's fully in it. And Bruce Lee made it look like poetry in action. He's just practicing these techniques in the air. And these techniques helped him not only warm up his body, but also practice speed, precision, footwork, and also engage his mind while nobody's getting hurt. There are no real fights, but he's preparing his mind and body for when the real fights occur. So he's priming it before the actual event. And then what happens? After that, he would be having a protein packed breakfast. He ate a healthy breakfast, usually eggs, toast, vegetables, and fresh juice. Sometimes even liver. Yes, real animal liver for iron and protein. And always something fresh to drink, like carrot juice or royal jelly. He believed food was fuel, and he only wanted to eat the best fuel. Bruce wasn't just a fighter, he was also a thinker. He loved reading books on philosophy, martial arts, psychology, and even poetry. So he would find some time to write and read in the early morning hours. He also believed in positive thinking. He often wrote things like, "I'll be the highest paid Oriental superstar in the United States." And years later, it came true. He didn't just wish this, he actually wrote it down so that he could believe it into being. He wasn't trying to be perfect, he was trying to be real, but he wanted to do so much. He had so much to give that he wanted to have a full life and also at the same time be an amazing teacher and teach martial arts to other kids. So, after his time of reading and writing, he would do intense training. And that's no mess around training. He would lift weights, stretch, practice kicks over and over again, hit the punching bags, practiced nunchuck moves in front of the mirror. He worked on speed, power, balance, forms, and yes, he practiced his 1,000+ push ups at that time. Then it was time for lunch. Bruce often ate lunch with his wife and children. He loved being a husband and dad. Even with all his fame, he always made time for the people he loved. Afternoons were usually times when he was either teaching or going for his film shoots. Many of the celebrity actors were his private students. Evening, he would do more training. He would stretch again, do more light training, slow down, relax, maybe read or write again. He did believe in balance, training hard but also resting well. By the time the stars came out, Bruce Lee was already preparing for another powerful day. Bruce Lee wasn't like everyone else. He trained not just to become stronger, but to become sharper. He realized the more distractions one has, the harder it is to focus. And the more clutter we have in our mind, the harder it is to move, like trying to run with a backpack full of rocks. So every day he asked himself, what can I let go of today? Too many thoughts, drop them. Too many tasks, simplify them. Too many things, remove them. He wasn't building himself up by stacking up stuff. He was actually always trying to chip away at things. He once said, it's not the daily increase, but the daily decrease. Hack away at the unessential. He thought that the more we take things away, the better we grow and the easier growth becomes. So the next time you feel overwhelmed with the lot that is on your plate, stop, take a breath, and ask yourself, what can I let go of today? Because becoming your best self might not be about adding more, it might be about letting go of what's not really you. So Bruce wasn't born a legend. He built his life one habit at a time: discipline, curiosity, family, training, thinking. He treated every part of his life like a martial art. And maybe that's what made him truly powerful. Not just his punches, but how he lived. Bruce believed that training the body without training the mind was like trying to drive a super fast car with no steering wheel. So he trained his emotions. He practiced staying calm even when things were hard, scary, or unfair. And his philosophy, be like water, my friend, he knew that trying to control everything never works. Sometimes, when he felt angry or frustrated, he would stop and breathe and ask, am I being like water right now, or am I trying to force things? That's a good question I think I want to incorporate in my day. Bruce once had an argument with a movie director. They didn't agree on how a fighting scene should go. Instead of yelling or storming off, Bruce stayed calm. He listened, explained, and worked together to find a better idea. The result? One of the most famous fighting scenes in history. Not because he fought hard, because he stayed open like water. So the next time you're mad or things don't go your way or someone pushes your button, ask yourself, am I being like water or a storm? Because Bruce Lee didn't become powerful by yelling or showing off. He became powerful by flowing with life, adapting, and always learning. At times, it seems like Bruce Lee had superhuman abilities. He was actually the only person to break a 100-pound punching bag with a sidekick. He could also kick 6 times in 1 second. And his famous skip sidekick, once he used this famous skip sidekick, he knocked down a 200-pound opponent completely off his feet. His technique was so refined, his speed so fast, and his core strength so powerful that it didn't look real. People said he kicked like a horse, but faster. And all this was a result of the 1,000 repetitions and weight resistance trainings and the core strengthening he did every day. His sidekicks became a weapon of precision. Can I ask, what is one thing that you can do today to get stronger in body or mind? Please write that in the comments section. I will too. In the summer of 1973, while finalizing Enter the Dragon, Bruce was working on a new film called Game of Death. As Bruce Lee stood on the set of Game of Death, something didn't feel right. He had never been one to back down from pain, but this time, this was different. Without warning, Bruce collapsed. His body started to shake, his eyes rolled back. For the first time in his life, Bruce Lee lost consciousness. They rushed him to the hospital. Doctors worked around the clock, monitors beeped, wires tangled around his chest for hours. He lay on the edge between life and death. Then slowly he opened his eyes. The first person he recognized was his wife Linda, and the first thing he whispered, "I felt death coming, but I'm gonna fight this. I am going to get over myself. I'm not giving up." Even when his body was weak, his spirits never surrendered. Days later, he flew to Los Angeles for brain scans and more tests, and everything came out fine, except for one thing, swelling in the brain. But still, Bruce kept going. Back in Hong Kong, he returned to work on Game of Death. Behind the scenes, though, the pressure was growing. Rumors, lies, people misremembering his past. On July 20th, 1973, Bruce went to Betty Pye's home with producer Raymond Chow. They sat down to talk about their next film. Suddenly, Bruce complained of a headache, a sharp, unbearable headache. Bruce lay down to rest, and he never woke up. He was only 32 years old. The official cause was listed as cerebral edema, swelling of the brain, possibly caused by a reaction to the medication. But many questions remained, leading to various theories about what really happened. Some doctors suggested Bruce might have had a hypersensitivity to an ingredient in the medication. Others pointed to his intense physical training. Bruce had recently removed his underarm sweat glands, and some wondered if this affected his body's ability to cool itself. There were theories about heat stroke, as July in Hong Kong was extremely hot and humid, and the apartment had no air conditioning. Though his time with us was short, his impact was immeasurable. Bruce Lee was 32 years old, but in that short time, he lit up the world like a comet, burning fast and unforgettable. He wasn't just the king of kung fu, a river of wisdom who taught us to bend, to flow, and to rise. Even in his last moments, he never stopped fighting. He once said, "The key to immortality is first living a life worth remembering." Bruce Lee may be gone, but his words, his punches, and his spirit still flow through the world like water. Today, nearly 50 years after his passing, Bruce Lee's influence continues to grow. Without Bruce Lee, there might never have been the explosion of martial arts schools across America and Europe. Action actors like Jackie Chan and Jet Li, films like Matrix, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, the rise of mixed martial arts as a global sport is all because of his influence. But his greatest legacy goes beyond kicks and punches. He broke barriers, showing that an Asian man could be a Hollywood star. He bridged cultures, bringing Eastern philosophy to Western audience. He changed how we think about human potential, showing that limitations exist only in our minds. Bruce's daughter Shannon Lee now keeps his legacy alive through the Bruce Lee Foundation, teaching his philosophy to new generations. Bruce was actually small compared to other fighters, so he was often underestimated. But he trained so hard that he turned his size into an advantage. And that tells me you don't have to be the biggest or the loudest. You just have to be the most prepared and perhaps the most flexible, like water. Sometimes I don't fit into the mold everyone expects. Bruce was like that too. He didn't just follow one way of doing things, he made his own path. And that gives me hope that I don't have to fit in. I just have to be me, like water flowing in my own direction. But last night I wasn't being like water at all. I found myself very controlling with my son. And I got reminded as I had just finished writing the script, am I being like water right now? Or am I trying too hard to push my agenda? And with just that little reminder, something shifted. My body softened, and suddenly I could see things from my son's perspective. We talked, we laughed, and that little tiff we were having, it just melted away with ease of flowing water. Thank you for listening to Soulful Stories, where legends live forever. And don't forget to write in the comments section what's the one thing you can do today to strengthen your body and sharpen your mind. Until we meet next time, take good care and have fun and be like water.
Water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Water can flow or it can crash. Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Be water, my friend. Running water never goes stale. So you gotta just keep on flowing. Keep on. So you gotta just keep on. So you gotta just keep on flowing. You have to train. You have to keep your reflexes so that when you want it, it's there. When you want to move, you're moving. I mean, you gotta put the whole hip into it. Snap it, snap it. Become one with the. You better train every part of your body. I mean, you gotta put the whole